Catherine O'Hara's funeral took place quietly. No media, no cameras, no speeches prepared for the public. Until Macaulay Culkin stood up, holding a few pages of handwritten notes, worn and creased. He didn't talk about fame. He didn't mention Home Alone or the years of glory. He spoke about a secret that had never been told for more than 30 years, about a woman who silently protected him when all of Hollywood saw only a child who made money. And by the final sentence, the entire room fell silent, because only then did everyone realize Catherine O'Hara's greatest legacy was not on screen, but in what she did when no one was watching. On the morning of January 30th, Hollywood woke up to an unusual stillness. There were no sensational headlines, no blaring media alarms, just a brief announcement confirming that Catherine O'Hara had passed away at the age of 71. For someone who had made the world laugh for decades, her departure was so quiet that many found it hard to believe. The funeral was held privately, almost completely removed from the spotlight she had lived with her entire life. No red carpet, no extravagant floral displays, no speeches staged for the press. Instead, there was a warm space that felt very Catherine. Everyday photographs placed around the room, her tilting her head as she listened to someone, laughing between takes, or simply sitting still with her familiar, gentle gaze. Not the image of a star, but of a human being. Those in attendance could clearly sense how different this ceremony was. The grief was not loud, but it was thick and heavy. Colleagues, friends, and those who had crossed paths with her did not whisper about roles, awards, or achievements. They spoke about the sense of safety they felt standing beside her, about how she made even the most stressful moments easier to breathe through, simply by being there. And within what seemed like an atmosphere carefully kept completely private, an unexpected moment began to take shape, not with a loud sound, but with the quiet attention of the entire room, as one person stood up. It was then that everyone understood this funeral would not be just a farewell, but the place where a long-buried truth was about to be spoken. When Macaulay Culkin stood up, the room seemed to close in by another beat. No one applauded. No one prepared for a speech. He held a few wrinkled sheets of paper, handwritten in blue ink. As if they had been revised many times before, he finally found the courage to bring them along. His voice wasn't loud, nor did he try to sound composed. It trembled slightly, deeply human, and that was exactly what made it impossible to look away. Culkin said he was not there to talk about a star, but about someone who saw him at a time when no one else did. In 1990, when Home Alone exploded, he was only 8 years old, yet the workload, pressure, and expectations placed on his shoulders were as heavy as those of an adult. The world saw him as a phenomenon, a revenue-generating machine, while very few people asked whether a child was tired or scared. In that whirlwind, Catherine O'Hara was a rare exception. Culkin shared that she never raised her voice, never tried to teach him how to be a better child star. She only asked very small questions. Are you okay? Do you need a break? Amid chaotic filming days, she created moments so ordinary they were almost invisible. Quiet lunches together, fixing his jacket, or standing between him and the overly curious eyes of adults. Culkin admitted that as a child, he didn't fully understand the meaning of those gestures. But years later, looking back, he realized Catherine had done something no one ever credited her for. She allowed a child to be a child, right in the center of a machine that never knew how to slow down. And as he reached this part, his voice caught, not from present grief, but from a gratitude that arrived late, for the woman who had quietly protected him during his most vulnerable years. If Macaulay Culkin's eulogy revealed Catherine O'Hara as a silent protector, the memories shared afterward painted an even broader portrait, an artist who built her entire career on kindness. On set, Catherine never needed to assert authority or remind anyone of her status. She entered the workspace with a rare calm, one strong enough to ease even the most tense scenes without raising her voice. Many colleagues said Catherine had an uncanny ability to read a room. She noticed when a young actor was uncertain, when a co-star was doubting themselves, or when the entire crew was being swept into an overly frantic pace. Instead of chasing the spotlight, she instinctively stepped back at the right moments, allowing others to shine, then appeared precisely when emotional grounding was needed. That was why scenes involving her always felt safe, no matter how chaotic or dramatic the content. What mattered most was that Catherine's professionalism did not come from fear of losing fame, but from deep respect for the work and the people around her. She was prepared, punctual, and treated every project, big or small, as an opportunity to create a kinder working environment. With younger actors, she rarely offered direct advice. Instead, she asked open-ended questions and allowed silences long enough for them to find their own voice. For decades, in a Hollywood constantly shifting its tastes and values, Catherine O'Hara held on to a principle that seemed simple, yet was difficult to live by. Never trade sincerity for glory. And perhaps that is why, when stories about her were shared at the funeral, people didn't dwell on her iconic roles, but on what it felt like to work with her, to feel respected, heard, and free to be oneself. After decades of being loved, yet sometimes dismissed as familiar rather than fully appreciated, Catherine O'Hara experienced an unexpected resurgence with Schitt's Creek. The role of Moira Rose was not merely an eccentric comedic character. It was the place where a lifetime of experience, nuance, and emotional depth fully bloomed. Every glance, every oddly emphasized syllable was built on a serious foundation, a profound understanding of the human being beneath the comedy. What made Moira Rose special was not the wigs or the extravagant costumes, but the way Catherine transformed an apparently flamboyant character into a real human being, one with wounds, pride, and a fear of being forgotten. In her 60s, she did more than simply return to television. She forced the entire industry to reconsider its assumptions about age and the value of lived experience. The success of Schitt's Creek was a clear affirmation that talent is never eroded by time. It only needs the right role, at the right moment, to shine. Even more remarkable was the way Catherine embraced this long-awaited recognition. There was no bitterness over years of being overlooked, no need to prove anything or settle scores. She maintained the same calm presence, the same generosity toward her co-stars, and the same gratitude for the crew. On the set of Schitt's Creek, many said Catherine was still the one who listened the most, always willing to adjust so the whole ensemble could be better, not so she could stand out more. That overwhelming success did not change who she was. It simply allowed the world to finally see clearly what those who had worked with Catherine O'Hara had long known: a great artist, not only because of her talent, but because of how she treated others at the height of success. Beyond the bright lights and applause for Moira Rose, Catherine O'Hara's true legacy lived in places where no cameras were present. It existed in the quiet connections she sustained over decades, especially with those who were vulnerable within a harsh industry. Macaulay Culkin was not the only one to speak of this, but at the funeral, his words reached the core of who Catherine was. She never abandoned anyone simply because they were no longer useful or famous. Catherine had a habit of sending brief messages, sometimes just a simple human question: "Are you okay today?" No schedule, no agenda, no expectation of an immediate reply. For many who had slipped after the spotlight faded, those small gestures became a lifeline back to the feeling that they still mattered. She never tried to play the role of a savior, nor did she seek praise for her kindness. She simply treated people the way a decent human being feels is right. In his eulogy, Culkin said one line that left the entire room silent. "Sometimes for a child to survive the chaos of fame, all it takes is one adult who sees them as something to be protected, not exploited." That was how Catherine lived, not through grand declarations, but through steady, reliable presence. And perhaps that is why, when she passed, the loss did not explode into scandal or controversy. It spread quietly, deep and enduring, like the emptiness felt when a source of emotional stability disappears. Catherine O'Hara's films will be watched again and again, but her greatest legacy lives in the private memories of those who were seen, heard, and protected by her, even when no one else did. In the final moments of the funeral, when there were no speeches left to give, Catherine O'Hara seemed to be present in a different way. She was no longer spoken of as a comedy icon, a fashion symbol, or an Emmy winner, but as a person whose mark on the world was made through protection. Few words were exchanged, yet everyone understood they had lost a rare kind of person in Hollywood, someone who never needed to be loud to have influence. Catherine never tried to be seen as a good person in the public eye. She simply refused to turn away when she recognized someone's vulnerability. And that consistency, sustained over decades, is what made her absence feel so heavy. Not because she was everywhere, but because she was always in the right place when needed. As people left the funeral, no one said Catherine O'Hara was gone. The shared feeling was that she had simply stepped into another room, one where the values she lived by still remained. In every laugh that caused no harm, in every moment of calm created amid the chaos of fame, Catherine O'Hara continues to exist, quietly, without spectacle, but never disappearing. And perhaps that is why the story of Catherine O'Hara does not end with her funeral. It continues in whispered conversations backstage, in the memories of those she protected when they were too young, too exhausted, or too vulnerable in a cold industry. There is no statue bearing her name as the protector, yet that role may have been the longest and most meaningful of her life. Her legacy does not rest solely in classic films or extended applause, but in the way she taught others how to be human, kind without weakness, professional without coldness. And so, even after the lights have gone out, Catherine O'Hara remains as a quiet standard that Hollywood rarely achieves and may take a very long time to find again. If this story makes you see Catherine O'Hara differently, don't forget to press like to honor the quiet kindness she left behind. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the stories behind Hollywood's spotlight, where the truth can sometimes be more moving than cinema itself. And leave a comment. Which role of Catherine's makes you remember her the most?